Every October, schools across the country take part in Red Ribbon Week, a time to focus on making healthy choices and staying drug-free. The red ribbon is a symbol of living drug-free and standing up for ourselves, our friends, and our future. Today, we're going to talk about why teens are often faced with choices around drugs and alcohol, how those choices can impact our lives, and how we can support each other in making positive decisions. This isn't just about saying no, it's about saying yes to opportunities, goals, and the kind of life you want to create. Substance abuse is when a person uses drugs that are illegal. It can also occur when a person uses a substance such as alcohol, prescription medicine, and other illegal substances too much or in the wrong way. We're going to watch a short video about 2 minutes long explaining substance use and abuse.
Understanding substance use and abuse. Misuse of substances like alcohol and drugs is a growing problem in the U.S., and teens and young adults are most at risk, with half of all new drug users being under the age of 18, and 1 in 5 high school students having abused prescription drugs. Additionally, 1/3 of high school students currently use alcohol, 23% use marijuana, and 22% use all forms of tobacco combined. Decision-making in teens involves a chemical called dopamine in the brain's reward center. Dopamine helps transmit signals in the brain that make people feel happy. The number of brain receptors interacting with dopamine is higher in adolescence than at any other time of life. That means that when a teen is exposed to a reward, such as a compliment, the reward center reacts more strongly than it would for an adult. Also, being with friends increases the sensitivity to rewards and makes the already sensitive reward system even more sensitive. Feeling rewards more strongly and responding more intensely to what peers may think means that there are biological reasons for why teens sometimes decide to do things with their friends that they would never do on their own. This can be positive by encouraging friends to take on new challenges, but it can also lead to dangerous decisions, such as drug and alcohol use. Drug use and abuse can contribute to harmful short and long-term health risks. In fact, drug abuse can have long-term effects on a developing teenage brain. MRI scans of the brain have shown that people who have been using drugs for a long time have a smaller prefrontal cortex than people who have not been using drugs. The prefrontal cortex is the area where decision-making occurs. Drug use can result in poor grades, memory loss, and social problems. A lot of us have an idea about what a person dependent on drugs looks like. However, anyone can suffer from this type of addiction. Addiction doesn't depend on income, job, age, race, or color. It is a disease of the brain that can happen to anyone. Drug dependency is when a person consumes alcohol or drugs regularly, despite the fact that it causes issues in their life and relationships with others. Get help if you need it. Encourage your friends to get help too.
This image shows how the teen brain develops. Different lobes of the brain mature at different times, and the frontal lobe, the part that controls decision-making, judgment, and self-control, is the last to fully develop, not until your mid-20s. That means that as teens, you're more likely to take risks or act on impulse. Drugs and alcohol can interfere with this growth, making healthy choices now really important for your brain and your future. By 12th grade, almost half of teens will have tried alcohol. About 4 in 10 will have vaped nicotine, and 4 in 10 will have used an illicit drug, usually marijuana. Many teens experiment to deal with stress or for new experiences, but substance use can affect your memory, grades, mental health, and relationships. It also increases the risk of addiction and overdose. The main point is this: choices you make now matter. Protecting your brain and health today sets you up for the future you want. This chart shows some of the most common substances teens use. They fall into different categories. Vapes include e-cigarettes, vape pens, and puff bars. Alcohol includes beer, wine, liquor, and hard seltzers. Marijuana is also called THC, weed, pot, or cannabis. There's also synthetic marijuana known as spice or K2, which can be especially dangerous because it's man-made and unpredictable. Sedatives or medications like Xanax, Valium, or Clonopin, sometimes called benzos. Opioids include painkillers like Oxy, Perks, or Vicks, and mixtures like Purple Drink. It's important to recognize that these substances are common, but that doesn't make them safe. Many of them are addictive, harmful to the brain and body, and carry risks that can affect your health and your future. Opioids are a type of drug often prescribed for pain, like oxycodone or hydrocodone. They can be very addictive, and when misused, they can slow down your breathing and heart rate, which can be deadly. One of the biggest dangers right now is fentanyl. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid that is up to 50 times stronger than heroin and 100 times stronger than morphine. Even a tiny amount, just a few grains, can cause an overdose. The scary part is that fentanyl is often mixed with other drugs like pills, vape liquids, or powders without people knowing. That means someone could think they're taking something harmless, but it actually contains fentanyl. This is why fentanyl is driving a lot of the overdose deaths we hear about. The safest choice is to stay away from all drugs that aren't prescribed to you by a doctor and filled by a pharmacy, because you can't always know what's in them. Making safe choices can literally save your life. We're going to watch another short video about 2 minutes long about the dangers of opioids, especially fentanyl.
The alarming increase in opioid overdose deaths has created a national crisis. Opioids are one of the most commonly misused drugs in the country, and they're among the most addictive drugs. Teens have added health risks when it comes to opioids. You may have heard people talk about opioids and not even realized it. Oxy, Perks, and Vicks are all slang terms for opioids. And then there's fentanyl. Fentanyl is an opioid drug that is 50 times more powerful than heroin. It's frequently mixed with other drugs, leading to overdose, which is caused when you take enough of the drug to stop breathing. Opioid use can affect every area of your life, from poor grades, to poor performance in sports, to hurting your relationships with friends and family. For teenagers, it can more easily harm your brain and cause addiction than in adults. To explain, we asked the country's top doctor on addiction, Dr. Nora Volkov.
The teenage years are probably some of the most important as it relates to brain development and building up experiences, including learning and preparing in order to be able to transition into adulthood. And that we do know that drugs are actually, unfortunately, disrupting the neuroarchitecture of the brain in a way that can jeopardize not just your cognitive abilities, but your emotions and and ultimately your likelihood of succeeding, including the risk of becoming addicted. When you take drugs as an adolescent, your vulnerability for addiction is much greater.
What can you do to protect yourself? To protect your brain, number one, don't use opioids for fun, and only take opioids as prescribed by your doctor. Even then, take them for as short a time as possible. Number two, advocate for your own health. If your doctor or dentist prescribes opioids for a painful condition, ask them how quickly you can stop taking them, or if there are other medications to use instead. Number three, delay use of all substances. Alcohol use, nicotine, and drug use are more damaging to the teenage brain, which doesn't fully develop until the mid-20s. Be smart. Protect your brain.
Teens use drugs and alcohol for many different reasons. Some are curious and want new experiences. Others may turn to substances to deal with stress, anxiety, or problems at home or school. Peer pressure and wanting to fit in can also be big factors. Culture and media play a role too. Music, movies, TV, and social media sometimes make drinking or drug use look fun, normal, or even glamorous, which can influence how teens see these choices. If people around you in your community or culture use substances, that can also make it feel more acceptable. It's important to remember that while these reasons might explain why teens try substances, they don't erase the risks. Drugs and alcohol affect your brain, your health, and your future. Understanding the pressures, whether from stress, peers, family, or media, can help you make choices that support your goals and protect your well-being. Making healthy choices helps you stay in control of your future. If you're feeling pressure or stress, there are safer and healthier ways to cope, like sports, music, journaling, or talking to someone you trust. Let's talk about coping skills. These are the ways we handle stress, emotions, or problems. Everyone has them, but not all coping skills are healthy. Here are some examples of healthy, positive coping skills versus unhealthy, negative coping skills. For healthy and positive skills, we have relaxation techniques like deep breathing or grounding, talking to a trusted adult, peer support and social activities, healthy habits and routines, and listening to music or engaging in hobbies. Unhealthy or negative coping skills include drug or alcohol use, sleeping too much or too little, withdrawal from activities, social groups, or hobbies, harmful behaviors like aggression, self-harm, or not eating or overeating. Sometimes people may pressure you to try drugs or alcohol. It can be hard to say no, but having clear ways to respond can make it easier. Here are some examples of ways you can say no if pressured to use drugs and or alcohol. You can always say that I'm good. My parents would ground me forever. That stuff makes me sick. It's not worth getting kicked off the team. I'm not into that stuff. No thanks. Not worth the risk. Also, it's good to have a code word with your parents so that they can say that you have to come home immediately. Sometimes stress, pressure, or curiosity can lead to situations with drugs or alcohol that feel hard to handle alone. That's why it's important to know you don't have to face it by yourself. A trusted adult like a parent, school counselor, teacher, or coach can listen without judgment, give advice, and help you to make safe choices. Reaching out doesn't mean you failed, it means you're taking care of yourself. If you ever feel unsure, unsafe, or overwhelmed, talk to someone you trust. Asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness.